That is not showing correct. Right. Now it shows the correct chat. Now let's test chat. The messages. We can. Okay, all looks good. Channel info. Right. Hey, oh, Risk already here. I just started. I'm drinking my morning coffee. Just got out of bed like half an hour ago. Had a really good night's sleep. Nothing can beat that. Let's see. Right, what am I doing today? Let's see. I'm done with quite a lot of functionality already. And got a reaction. Nice. Guess the Moyafro will be coming over to ask some more questions about another task. This time he is making, well, doing an exercise to create classes. So we'll have a chance to help him with that. Right. But what I will be doing today is actually saving the new operation. Yeah, that should be finally. Oh yeah, this is the other bot. This is the bot that actually creates images. So this is one of the bots that I'm setting up. This is the killbot code. It's also, well, it was written a long time ago. It only has one single class that I implemented just because of multi-threading. Because I get such a volume of I have such volume of messages to send that if I wasn't using multi-threading to do that, I wouldn't be able to keep up with all the messages that need to be sent, because each message has well, not a large but a sizable image, which was 380 348 times 2. I'm not sure why I'm multiplying everything by 2. But it looks like I am. Imagine the image size. If I have image size anywhere. Offset 300. Same skull. I have a background image. Whatever. Hey! Oh. Morning. More afro. So you're doing another exercise. With classes this time. Let's see. Guess I don't need any more options, I just need more custom buttons now. Got some code, but it's producing. Well, send it over, we'll see. We'll check it out. We need to start somewhere. I even have the old class, all the. Oh, by the way, I wanted to ask you how did your last scoring go? Could you review it for me? I'd send it in a minute. Give me a second. Yeah, sure. We'll take a look. See what's tripping you over. I gave a quick skim over the. See. The new task. So small. Actually, how did I do it last time? Just copy link. Open it in browser. Yeah, this is much better. Right, he will demonstrating use of classes for some reason it's for scoring golf. Defines a goals class for which you will use to. That's what classes are used for, creating objects. And I guess you're familiar with the terminology. Class is basically a description of an object that you can create while running, well, during the runtime of your application. Well, there are lots of flavors of different classes, but the most basic one is meant to create instances of, well, they're called instances of that class that can. In Python it's very fluid, so you create a class, you don't even need to define any, well, you can cobble it together during runtime however you like and modify it. But yeah, that's besides the point, it's not really important. But classes are very important in development in general. Well, I guess while I wait for the code, I can start preparing my next thing. A new button. And classifiers. I have a save button already. Buttons, I don't. Let's define a new button. As buttons, bot types, loggers, menus. Where are my buttons? I'm looking at the right class. Oh, here they are. Buttons. Save. Bring. Save. Okay, this should be, well. I really like how I have it set up, so it's really easy. I have a spot for buttons. Language cancel button, delete button. Maybe I should specify that this is a button, save button. I'm pretty sure I'll be using that in a couple of places. Save button equals save. Right. Ah, my more coffee, love it. Okay, we have save now, so the button will be save. Now, what does it need? It needs custom button instance. Yeah, this is an example how we create a class instance. So we get a class. This time it's called custom button, and it requires handler. And handler, we need to create handler. I wonder how should I do this? Guess I can just have a general save bot handler. Yeah, like this. Save bot. I basically need is the bot. Send you the code in Discord. Yeah, okay, I see. Okay, I see this class. I see that indentation is not correct. I can already see an issue. I guess we can go through and see. So the thing about Python that is very important is the scope. So talking about scopes, scope is basically a piece of like how code is structured. So basically in the scope, if you declare a variable, it is visible in that scope and can be accessed. If you can access that scope, you can access that variable. So basically it's just like a way of organizing your code. So basically, how does that look? Like, what is the scope? Well, how does it look in code? So basically, this is the scope of this method init. So when you define a method, then everything with a tab in front of it is in the scope. And actually, indentation is not correct. So yeah, that's why it's complaining. So it has to be a tab. One tab is, well, in this case, it's automatically gets converted into 4 spaces. But that's how scopes are defined in Python. So basically, this is how it knows if this line of code is inside, belongs to this method, or maybe it should be outside. So this this line of code now is outside of init, and it's complaining because it doesn't know what self is. Self is a parameter that is given to this method. Now, so we can do this, and it doesn't know what par is because it's outside the scope. So that's how they work. So it all has to be aligned. Yes, in other languages you have, well, for example, in C++, I think, and I believe in Java it's the same. Usually you can define a scope like this. Where when you define a method or a class, you can define its scope by some sort of brackets. But Python doesn't do that. It just relies on the tabulation and assignment. So the issue is, if you want to have an init method inside this class, it all has to be indented as well. So it should be like this. So this means in your classes scope, you have a parameter, it's a variable defined inside the class, and then inside the class you have defined an init method like this, and then inside the method itself you have defined this assignment like that. And self is a special variable that will always be passed along into a method, a class instance method, meaning, well, self will always reference itself inside the class. So all methods inside the class, well, it's not always, there are exceptions, but usually that's what self means. It just references it's himself, the object, the class that the method is inside. I don't know if you did if statements correct, right? Right, so this is not how you, okay, so yeah, this doesn't seem right to me. Let's do the alignment first. It only needs one space to be deleted, so it won't be complaining about the spacing. We don't, yeah, this is not part of this exercise, and it's conversion, whole number, whole score, okay. Right, so to begin with this, another thing, we have the assignment instructions here. I just opened them. So let's see, we can go from the beginning. Well, another thing to point out, well, this doesn't really mean anything. This is just a string, or I think this is a comment. Don't even I don't comment all that often, but yeah, this is just a comment. Right. Doc string. Yeah, you can call it that way. Yeah, that would be considered a doc string. First line of class definition. Okay, so you have your class golf. Doesn't look right because usually class names starts with a capital letter, just so it will be like easier to spot. So. And oh, so you're using, so this is incorrect use as well. Oh, the use is correct. That's how you would actually initiate it. But the method, it won't call init because in Python, the default constructor, basically the constructor is the method that will be called if you call an object name, the class name, and give it initial parameters. So it will call the constructor. And in Python, the name of the default constructor is init. Basically, if I don't do this, this code won't work. It will complain. Well, this won't do anything because it's just seems like some testing strings. So let's see. Let's save this. If I run this, it should complain that yeah, it doesn't take any arguments because the default constructor, when you don't have it defined, oh, the bots, damn bots are back. Oh, not reply. Block and remove. Right. So this is just a method called init. It's not actually a constructor, and when you try to call the constructor, giving it the parameters, it complains that the constructor doesn't take any arguments because the default constructor does nothing and takes no arguments. So if you want this to work, you should call. Actually, it won't work. You need an instance first, and then you can assign values. So basically, you would need to do this whole one is equal to golf to your class, and this is how you would create an instance. And afterwards, you can call the method whole1 dot init because you have defined that method. And then when you pass along the values, that's how it can assign. Because so the point. Oh, correctly typed. So now this will call the constructor, create an instance, and then when you have the instance, you can call the method, and the method can assign the value. So the values can be assigned at any point. You don't have to do that in a constructor. But I get that the exercise is asking you to do that in a constructor, and to fix that, you only need to rename this to init underscore init underscore. So that's the. So in Python, special methods, like the methods that have special meaning in the language itself, are usually surrounded by double underscore and its name. So there are lots of methods like that. If you go through Python documentation, like you can find a bunch of those methods. Let's see. Oh, okay, I won't go into examples. So I don't have to use self score. You have, because self meaning. So how it works, it doesn't actually, like this definition, this method by itself doesn't know which instance it will be associated with. So if you just call, well, how can I word it that it would be clear? I mean, for this statement, well, you will have to, but I don't think not sure what you're trying to do with the if statement here. if statement doesn't really make much sense because you're comparing a string score with a string par and trying to see which one goes first. So okay, that's okay. Init is fixed, so you can actually initialize it like this, and everything will work. So I can remove these lines. So now it should run. Yeah, so over par. So you see, it actually, well, score is bigger than par. And basically what it does, it compares alphabetically. Now it compares score with par word, which one would be like, which is alphabetically higher or lower in the order, in alphabetical order. So that's what this if is doing right now. He wants to compare the value and print the statement if score is less or more than par. Yeah, but this is probably not how you would do that, because this does completely, well, something very different from what you need. So let's read what it actually says. Because as I say, this is currently just comparing this string score. So if I want to have something else, maybe I could rename this, what is after, well, before P, O. So if I add O, suddenly it will change value. So it won't say over par, it will say under par. If I run this, yeah, it became under par. So it's triggering this because this is alphabetically before par. And if I want them to be equal, I just need both of them to be par. So it will say at par. Let's see. Yeah, so now it's at par because it satisfies this condition. So this is not, it doesn't understand that you mean variable names somewhere else. It's just, since it's in quotation marks, it just means a string of this value. So, you know, it's just comparing literal par string, a word, to another word, whichever comes first. So that's what it's now doing. And an exercise is asking you, okay, you define a class, initialize with parameters, define the constructor, right? Define a method to evaluate, display the score, right? So you need a method that will do that. So you need to define another method that is not like inside the class itself. So it doesn't have to, well, it's outside the class. So much like you define a method, like all method definitions start with def, meaning define, and then you define the method. Define score and par. Well, not exactly. That's the interesting thing about Python. You actually don't have to do that. Python is flexible like that, which is, well, it has both upsides and downsides. The upside in this case is that you don't actually need to define them in advance. So basically, when you call this method, well, when you initialize and you assign a value, it doesn't matter that you didn't define that there is, for example, there's supposed to be a whole variable you can even define a type like this, so it will be an integer and its initial value is 0. Let's say, like, you can define all of this, you can skip the type and just define that there is a variable called whole inside golf class, and this syntax will actually assign the value to this variable. You don't need to do that at all. Like you can, well, it will automatically create one when you define a new value. So for example, what I mean by this is when I initialize a method, an instance of a class, so let's whole1, I can do this whole1 my variable equals, say, value, it's random value, and then I can print whole1 my variable, and this will work. Like it won't have any complaints. It doesn't need it doesn't need these values to be declared in advance. You can use them as you please, you see, and it's printed out value. Actually, I could have done it a little bit nicer. Do an F string, and this will be a variable value. This basically, this will just print out, yeah, my variable value is value. So whatever I assign here to whatever variable I desire, like you can use them along the way. This is how you can assign values to non-existing variables, but since it doesn't exist, it will create automatically it for you, and you can use it afterwards. If I don't do that, so if I skip this step, then it will complain that it won't work, that it will say that object doesn't have this attribute defined. So, you know, there are some caveats with this approach where you can dynamically assign the new properties to a class. So if you, for example, have the statement in well, okay, it's not really important, it's just for general knowledge how classes work. So saying that you need to define these doesn't really mean anything. You already assign them a value, so they are already defined. So since their values get assigned in the constructor, so whenever the object is already created, when you call the constructor, those instances already have all the values you need. So if you want to, well, I guess I don't have this anymore. So if I want to access the value, print it out, I can go with whole1, and it already says that these values are there. So let's say whole, and it will print whole value of the whole1. Actually, you don't really, well, it is 0. Let's see, stopped. You see, my variable value is 0. So I already have that value. Since I already assign a value to that variable, it's already defined and I can use it. So that's the basic idea. So we can read ahead and see what it actually asks of you. So define a method to evaluate and display the score. So what it's asking is to define a method inside the class, and you do that by well, you need to be in the right scope. So you're defining a method inside the class, this is outside the class, and this is inside the class. So you, much like constructor, you define, and I don't think it mentions the name, so you can name the method however you like. Yeah, the tab is a key thing in Python. I'm not sure, you can say it's a good thing, you can argue it's a bad thing, but you know, in general people say it's like this strict indentation in Python. Okay, let's drink some more coffee. Right. Refer to program. Okay, so this is how you define methods, I imagine. This is the chapter you would read. Right. So you define a method to display the score, evaluate and display score. That's This is bad practice, having method do two things at once. So let's call it eval. And what? Display score, use the if statement to check the score against par. What does par stand for? I don't really understand the par meaning. I can understand the whole and the score. What is par? And set the result accordingly. Display the result for the given score and par value. Include the par value in the display. Yeah, I know it's I get it, it's a term in golf. I would like to know what it means, but I guess it's not really important. It's just something to compare with. Huh? Yeah, I'm not really much of a golfer myself, so these terms are like seem odd. Put the par value into display. So you want to display something like this. If score is over par and or under par. It doesn't really mention how you actually assign. Well, okay. So what I was looking for is if this method should accept any parameters. And it doesn't mention anything. It just says do this. Well, pretty much this if thing. You can do it here. Correct indentation. So now this if statement is actually defined not in the method, in the class. So now it's inside this method eval. So when I call eval, I will get well, it will start doing this whole thing, but I need to fix that as well. Since you actually, oh, I don't remember what was. Okay, I'll just copy the original because. So score and par, right? Like this. Oh yeah, the notation is still not correct. Okay. So instead of referencing strings, so you wanted to reference the values themselves inside this class. So you do self dot and score, since this is, and you do the same thing for all of them. And the bots are very active today. That's quite annoying. So this is what you actually want to do to get the desired effect. And it asks you not, well, the actual printout should be score par is over par. So you need to display both score and par. How a programmer would do that would be using f. Well, f just means that this string will be formatted automatically, and when string is formatted, you can inject or use references to values in your code. So let's say you want to say, I guess we can just self score, and then more sign, couldn't remember how it's called, and then you use self par. So basically this means when this string will be printed out, it will evaluate the value of the score and insert it here, and then it will evaluate par, it's inserted here, convert it into a complete string, and then print it out in the result. So this is how you would construct strings usually, but students, I'm not sure if you were taught this or not. Maybe, well, you could get away, well, I guess what I so you could do it well in a different way, which is what people might be more used to. So using plus signs, use self par, then another plus sign over par, something like this. So these are kind of equivalent, but see, this is more concise and it's closer to what will be displayed. Don't just have so many plus signs and like the the coloring changes and so on, which is it's just a nicer way to do it, at least in my opinion. Both would work, I imagine. Okay, so let's make it so that it hits this if statement. Guess we can finish fixing this self score. It's less than self par. That. And this self score. Self par. So now it actually will compare the actual values. Very cramped. Let's make it space in these. It would look a little bit nicer, easier on the eyes, not just one continuous block of code. Right, and now to satisfy this condition, so it would actually happen, we need to assign score something higher than par. So par is 3, 4, 5. So let's set whole 1. And I can't type whole 1. Score is equal, let's say 5. So 5 will be more on whole 1, since par is 3, 5 will be more. So this should be hit. So when I do whole 1 eval, so this is how I call a method defined inside the class. So that's how you actually go this dot notation, where you call it dot something. This is how you step through the different scopes until you get to the destination scope, where you actually have something you want to interact with. So this is how you assign the variable as well. Since score variable is not defined in this scope, but it's defined inside this class, you go to the class scope dot, and then you can access all the variables that are defined in that scope. Hopefully that's clear. Right, so this is how I'll call this method, and since whole 1 score is now 5 and the par is 3, it should hit this and print both of these statements. Yeah, but well. Oh no, actually errors, ported type, oh, it can't. So yeah, when you do this, you need to do the string thing. You need to convert everything to strings, because if it's an integer, it doesn't understand how it can be added to a string. So yeah, this is not the most convenient way. So yeah, formatting will take care of this conversion, type conversion as well. So let's do it again. And yeah, you basically have this. Oh yeah, and the indentation wasn't fixed, so yeah, this is so this 5 is more than 3 over par. I guess that's what was, well, that's how I understand this syntax. Oh, is over par. Is over par. Doesn't include the par value in the display. Yeah, display the results of the given score and par value. Okay, well, score variable to 0, initialize score variable to 0. So yeah, you do that. Just fine. Create your object for each whole. There should be 3 arguments. The whole. Yeah, whole number, the score, and the par value. Yeah, so this looks good. Actually, whole, yeah, initialized to 0, so all of these are probably not correct. So you have well, all of them are for the same whole in theory now. So you should have like whole 1, whole 2, and whole 3. This whole doesn't really serve a purpose. Because score, or well, you can change well, the way you have defined it here. You can change the initial score value for all the holes, but okay, where one represents the whole number, blah blah blah. And I guess next is in the next screenshot. Link. Well, I think we're pretty much done with this one. I guess we can come back if needed. Prompt the user to enter a whole number and score. Store the whole number in a variable. This seems like it's missing something. Oh, slider is very gray on gray. My weak eyes fail me. Prompt the user to enter a whole number, store the whole number in a variable, and the score variable initialized previously. Do you have to do it like this? I guess. Int. Placing int ahead of the input statement will store the user input as a number. Okay. Well, I guess you can do that. Refer back to. Okay. Prompt the user to enter a number and a score. And this seems like well, it continues on without. Yeah, so you convert whole number and score. And what about par? Where do you get the par from? In placing, yeah. Use if statements to evaluate the whole number. Enter and call the appropriate class method for the appropriate whole object. This will invoke the method in the class to display the result to the user. Okay. Let's unpack what this actually mean. Yeah, you will use if to decide which. So you have three objects for three different holes. So you ask him to enter. Well, you expect the score to be one of these. Well, you expect to get a whole number to be one of these numbers. So 1, 2, or 3 in this case. So that's what you use if statement for. Enter and call the appropriate class method. It's for appropriate whole object. This will invoke the method in the display class to display the result of the user. Okay, this is poorly written, at least. So I guess our eval, or whatever however we name this method, show score. Okay, show score. Like this actually accepts a value score. Well, at least that's how I read. I feel like, well, this is bad practice in general. I'm guilty of doing this myself, so it's not something crucial. It's just people who write programs get into a habit of not doing it properly. Well, it's very easy to stray away from the proper way of doing things. So there should be another method. So method should be responsible for doing one thing. If this method is supposed to display a result, it should only do the displaying of the result. It shouldn't do anything else. And assigning values is something different. For par, if you look at the expected output, I think it's supposed to be 3, 4, 5 for the holes. Well, that's what you actually have set. So remember, the order here corresponds to the order of the values in your constructor. So the first number is the whole number, second number is the score, which is 0 at the beginning, and the last value is the par value. So the third value is 3, 4, and 5, that's what you have defined, so I didn't touch it, since that seems correct. So let's see, let's set score and we accept the new score. This is how it should be done. And inside this you just assign self score is equal to score that you provided. Okay, let's score that shorthand here, so it will be easier to see that this references the parameter that you got in the method. Oh, you passed along to the method. So this is how it should be done. From the wording it's not clear if he expects you to accept the score value in show score and then save it here as well. Let's see. Appropriate class method or for appropriate whole object, this will invoke the method in the class to display the result to the user. I guess we can do this, self show score, and we don't pass anything. Self is passed into the method automatically, so you would never, well, you can provide it, but you don't have to. Providing it will change on which object it's being called, so you know, just for simplicity's sake, consider self is always provided, so you don't need to provide it yourself. Right, this will invoke the method in the class to display the result of the user. Evaluate and display score. So this is the method. Enter the whole and score. What? Now this doesn't make sense. Why do you need to enter whole number? Like, you already know that it's whole 1. That doesn't make sense. Enter whole and score. Yeah, this is dumb. This is dumb but extra stupid, because this is, you won't need this variable. This object, when you create it, you already assign it, well, it saves the whole number inside of it. So passing it again, like, doesn't make sense. Like, there's no point in having an object, creating an object in that case. It's making the user enter a whole number. Well, making a user to enter a whole number, that makes sense, because you have to know which whole the user is talking about. But this is used here. Enter whole, and then depending on which whole you enter, this is so dumb. Enter whole number 3, enter your score at par. Oh, so your score at par, whole 3. What? How is this output? Sample results. Yeah, he remade this exercise so many times that, like, this output doesn't match anything he described before. The user is only entering value for the whole and score, I think. Par is fixed already. Yeah, par is fixed. So 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so par is... But yeah, look what I'm talking about. So the output is you scored under par. Oh. So it doesn't actually... Okay, in the previous thing, it asks for this kind of output. The hell? Okay, so time to time to investigate what's the meaning of all of this. Check the score against par, set the result accordingly. So, oh. Okay, so the result should store one of these string values, from what I understand, if I understand it correctly. Okay, so what he actually meant. Yes, yeah. Yeah, I'm still looking at the question because, well, the question is very confusing. It doesn't really, well, I guess this is how they justify that it has something. So yeah, you have a result. Why the result is 0? It actually say to do the result score variable to 0. So result actually has to be an empty string because it's a string variable. And here, well, the displaying is okay. We can fix that later. When we set score, this is dumb. Writing quality options on stream requires Twitch to re-encode the stream at lower bit rates. It takes a lot of processing power on Twitch's end, and they have limited amount of available. So that's the reason. Interesting. Well, I could have told you. Well, it's kind of obvious why they use as little resources as possible. Being the largest, basically de facto streaming platform in the world, like it makes sense why they do that. They have to, like everyone who has like 1 or 2 viewers like me uses Twitch, and you know, if everyone was streaming, that would be a lot of bandwidth and a lot of encoding that would need to be done with little to no return, because they can't really show ads on streams like this because no one is watching. Well, not no one, you're watching, but you get what I mean. So this is okay, so this if statement shouldn't be here, should be here. So if score is less than par, it needs, instead of printing, it needs to assign this over par value to the result. So this self result equal over par. So that's what it meant. So this is under par. Here result is at par, right? And then in the end I call show score. I guess, why do you need score in that? Yeah, it doesn't make sense in my opinion. Whatever, let's keep, like, this is such an awkward way of doing this. It's a little bit baffling. I don't want to bash your teacher too much, but there are so many better ways to do this. I don't understand how you come up with exercises like that. Like, it seems like it was, the extra effort was put in to make it as confusing and weird as possible, and I can't really see what's the what's the purpose of that. Okay, and now in the display show score method, we don't really need to do all of this if statements, because the actual the part that's different is already stored in the variable. These signs are always, yeah, it seems like he does that on purpose. Can't really explain it any other way. So this is with the part that's different. So we have whole number, we have par value, and the result is this value. So okay. So the actual printout should look like do scored, then it prints out the results, under over on whole number, on whole number self whole. Well, I guess I can add the hashtag. Let's make it line with bar of then we insert the value of self not bar. So instead of doing all of these ifs and checks, it only does this one thing. So it just prints out this formatted string like that. And he had a different method defined, evaluate and display score. So, well, the proper way to actually do that would be to define a third method. So we have define evaluate and display score. Use this camel case, evaluate and display score, and he takes two arguments. Enter whole score. Whole is not even used. Oh, I don't know. Oh, and so this, what we'll do is, actually it won't be called inside because that happened. And this, we need to do it here, so the value is already assigned. So, well, we need to assign first and then compare the value with par to get the result. Otherwise it will assign the result first and then assign the new score. So this is a nice way to have a bug in your code. So you have this method which actually calls set score. Oh, self set score, passes along the score. Then you call self what was that one? Show score. Yeah, so this is the control method that just coordinates methods that need to be called. So if you need to do multiple things in one method, this is how you would do that. You create a method that does that one thing, and then you create a method that passes along the control to the appropriate method at appropriate time. So now when you're outside this doesn't make sense. Why would you need that whole? What would you do with it? I'm not sure. I guess you could verify that the whole was correct or something. Well, I'm not sure. If you wanna, if you want to showcase how dumb this exercise is, you can just use this value to say, let's write an if self whole. How should I do this? Equals whole. So if provided whole value is actually correct and matches the value that is what was assigned to this class when it was created, then it does everything, all of this. And if it doesn't, you can print you are trying to assign score to the wrong whole, something like this. You can even add this warning. So this would look, at least in this case, a whole at least has some purpose. I'm not sure why it's being passed inside. It just doesn't make sense. That's my point. But it does have it here. When it calls the method, it uses it some way. It's just confusing. Okay, so now we have all of this, have our instances. So the score will be provided afterwards. Whole eval, so yeah, we don't have that anymore. So we have our class with all three methods defined. Well, there is another technique programmers use. Programmers like to, well, if the method is not supposed to be called from the outside, you can name these methods with underscore in front of it. This will indicate that this method shouldn't be called outside, and it should be just called internally by the class methods themselves. But this is just like a nicety, and yeah, the exercise doesn't mention anything about it. I'm just like providing extra context for why it is. Well, if you present it like that, your teacher, if he sees this and he knows what it is, he might inquire, why did you actually do this? Because if he didn't explain this at any point, then yeah, he will naturally have questions. How do you know about something like that? But yeah, this is how this naming scheme is supposed to work. Right. And now you read how can we do this? Enter whole number. Like, this is done with extra stupid. That's the best definition I can come up with. So I guess he expects this to have I don't see, like, whole one is an instance with, as you said, like this is the instance, it has the whole number inside. And here, if whole equals 1, then you call it on whole 1. Like, I'm failing to see how this makes sense. So the idea is that, I suppose that here, after we enter the values, so if user whole number is equal to 1, you call whole 1, evaluate and display score. So whole will be user whole number for some reason, and score will be user score. And really, these should be named as well, like these. So remember I mentioned that by convention, programmers just capitalize the first letter of the class, so it would be easier to see just by looking at it if it's a reference to a class object or it's something else. So since these are not classes, like you're not referencing a class here, you should name them differently. You should rename to start with a lowercase, and then you can camel case the words, multiple words inside the name. So user whole number would be like this, and this should be, it's like, it's not important, it doesn't change anything functionally, like it will work just as good. It's just a good habit to have right off the bat, because if you get used to using weird names like doing this because this is not how you should define method names. Methods should use a different style. So for example, I use underscore to like make a space between different words in the method name. So when I see an underscore used in well, it's easier to read, because then I know that this is a reference to a method, even if it didn't have, because methods could be referenced without any parameters. So this I would know is a reference to a method and not to a variable. Well, it's supposed to be a reference to a method, but well, so that's the the reasoning behind this. So I would rename this as well. So evaluate and display. So you would do this if you want to flex in front of the lecturer how nonsensical he is. There's like, fix his examples because they don't really, they are not really appropriate in my opinion. So here you would do this, and I guess you have just a bunch of if statements which are pretty much identical, and the only different thing is this. So whole 2 if it's 2, and if it's 3, whole 3, and that's it. So this will actually work. And if you wanted to make you could get very fancy with it and use loops and so on, but just for simplicity's sake, let's just have this. Let's make some space. Oh, let's make double space here. Actually, not here. Here. So it will be easier to see the grouping. So this assignment goes with this if statement, this assignment with this. So it will ask you to input the value 3 times. And this will let you display everything. Okay, so this is not needed anymore. Right, and I think this is it. This is how I would do it, but as a programmer myself, like this looks kind of okay, even though it doesn't really make much sense to do it this way, but I guess the exercise well, there are many things in programming that don't seem to be right off the bat. So okay, enter the number 1, score, let's say 8. So then you enter number 2. Number 2 I scored 4, and number 3, I guess at the third hole I got really good. It's needed 2, and you get all the par values. So first one is over, this one is at, and this is under par, and it prints out pretty much the thing from here. See how it matches. Hole number 1, enter score 5, over, under, and at. Well, I guess these switch places. So this is pretty much done. Like, this is dumb. The formulation is confusing, the parameters don't make sense. Why do you need a user hole here? Is there a way to separate an output? Yeah, you can add symbols. There's a special character n/n, I believe. Where's the backslash? I guess we'll figure out. /n. Yes, you can add a new line. How it's done here. It looks like there is a double new line here and new line before each input. Okay, let's do that. So basically, in strings, there are special characters, and special characters are denoted by a slash, and it's a symbol which denotes what type of special character you want. So if you want to insert a tabbed character, you use t/t, and /n just enters a new line. So basically, when it prints out, instead of printing /n, it will print a new line, a whole line, and it will start in the second line printing whatever follows it. And here, when we print out the results, I'm not sure of how it will work with formatted lines, but I imagine it should be fine. So let's try this. Run it now. Oh, it actually... Okay, that's not correct. So I guess it should be backslash. Let's try that if I'm mistaken again. Yeah, so now it printed out, so yeah, it should be a backslash instead of slash. That's nothing I don't use special characters in strings all that often. I'm just aware of their existence, and that's usually enough. Right, so that would be the way to actually have it formatted the same way. I imagine he just wants you to print out a new line, but whatever. This is one of the ways. This is how I would do it. Enter the whole number. Yeah, whole 1, enter the score was 5, I believe. Hole 2, score was what, 3? And hole 3 is 5, so it's at par. So yeah, now it's spaced same. So it's double spaces after the score and single space between the inputs. Somewhat reminds this quite a bit when I look at it. So, well, user-friendly, I'm not sure you can. User-friendly is a, is a term I usually wouldn't use with console applications. If you need to enter anything into a console, like that's basically the definition of user-unfriendly. So it already is being used by a power user of some sort. So yeah, sure. Have the code, and yeah, just I would suggest modifying it so it looks more like what a student would write. Maybe you don't have to use n. I think you can just enter it. Actually, you can't. How do I think you need a plus here, plus here. Actually, don't know how do you like. Wait, can I just do this? Have triple quotes here. Means it's a multi-line string. I wonder if this will work. That's something he might have mentioned. Special characters is something he probably didn't mention, so yeah, it works. So if you want your string to be multiple lines, so you just have it in triple quotes. And this means that, well, this just indicates until you meet another triple quote, everything included is inside the string. So if I put in an enter, that enter will be printed out. So you can do it like that. Maybe he mentioned this, maybe he didn't. I would use special characters. It's running error for me. What kind of error you're getting? Seems to be working fine for me. Oh, did you fix the indentation? Not sure if the indentation is correct. Type error golf takes no arguments. I think you're running the old code, or you have the definition of, well, you need to rename init to be like this. I'm pretty sure I send the, oh yeah, so in Discord, okay, actually let's do it like this. Completely forgot about this. So if you want it to be not formatted, I need to do this. So you see now init. So basically in Discord, if you write a string, say something, and you surround it in underscores, 2 underscores, this will underline that string. Yeah, so this is just an oddity of Discord, how Discord. So when Discord sees this double underscore, you just, instead of printing it out like that, it underscored init. So that's why it didn't work. Right, let's do this. \max. Okay, so yeah, well, you know, that's pretty much it, I guess. Well, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to educate. Hopefully that's the goal of this. It's not just to have someone do your exercises for you. Hopefully you learn something instead. Because to me these exercises are trivial, and reading the formulation it's nonsensical on top of that. I'm working on my other assignment. Okay, well that's good. If you have any questions, like, let me know. Hopefully that assignment is similar enough that you can transfer what you learned in this doing this exercise into the next one. And I'll be making whatever I've been making here, which is another custom button. My bot. I need a save button. Save button. I think I defined a save bot method. Yep. This will do nothing for now. Yeah, this looks good. So I have bot. Save button. Yeah, so this is an example of how you reference a method without its brackets. You pass it along as a parameter, then you don't really need to provide any variables to the method. You just reference to the method. You provide just the method reference to the method, to some other method. In this case, it's a constructor of this custom button class. Right. What does it need? So this killbot as a parameter. Parameters are in the list. The last thing I need is carry button style. This will be success, if I believe correctly. Yeah, will be a green button. Constructor is done. Do I need a callback as well? I guess I need a callback. So I need two parameters. So when it saves, so it knows where to actually... Wait, this can fail as well. So I need a success callback and a failure callback. Now with failure, I just need... How can I do this? Oh, that's a good question. How do I display errors? That's... Wait, I do that somewhere before. Custom button. To take a look how I did this before. Listbots menu. Claim bot. Extend. I think that has what I'm looking for. And bot. Extend single bot start. Okay. So this reference is the next step. And if I find errors, oh yeah, actually I do the callback. Right. Okay, I forgot that it will return the... okay, whatever. Not important. So yeah, this callback of... I guess it doesn't really matter. I just need a callback. Actually it does. Be a different menu. So let's say first of all it will be case of failure. The last one will be in case of success. What should I call if everything is okay? I think the start menu makes the most sense. Classes, custom button, killbot. It's in menu. Get start menu. Yeah, will be pretty much the same as cancel, but with a different option. Right. So button success, button save button. Okay, I think I'm ready to actually do the code for saving. First of all, I need to validate. Right, so this is no longer correct. It takes bot, then fail callback, and success callback. So it depends if we validate. It's bot, so it will just how can I do this? Actually, I need to go AFK for like 10 minutes. Right, how can I do this? Right, I'll be back in 10 minutes. Can I? Before? Wait, okay. Hold on. Okay, I'm holding on. Timer. Don't really want it to start sound, so I'm trying to figure out how to send you donos. I think you can do it through PayPal. Twitch doesn't allow that kind of thing because I'm too small of a streamer. You need to be at least an associate so you can receive donations. So the best thing I can think of is just straight up PayPal if you want to make a donation. There's another option. Actually, I have in my Discord, let's see, instructions, I believe, yeah, if you want. I have Ethereum wallet and a Bitcoin wallet. So, you know, these options are also there. For the donations, I remember having. Oh, so this is the quick guide. About announcements, I think. It's just links to my Reddit and the instructions. Announcements. If at some point I had a link for donations. This is just links to my Reddit. Oh yeah, so there is a PayPal link here. HTTPS PayPal me. So when I initially, well, started doing this with the bots, I'll post it in my Discord, in my community Discord. So this is the same link to PayPal. So imagine if you follow it, it should. Yeah, so you can send money through PayPal here. I guess that's the most straightforward way. Let's see. But yeah, it's been a while since anyone donated. Well, it's been there for like 2.5 years at this point. And everyone forgot about it. Right. So, timer. Let's see. Oh, actually, I should be back in 10. I might not, though. Let's say 15 minutes. be right back. I really have to go, so I'll be back in 15 minutes at most. And let's not have it play a sound. So yeah, be right back. Okay, back. That was faster than I expected, so that's good. So intermission is over. Just give me a second, I want to make sure you got it. Alright, friend, I sent it to you. Great. Oh, I actually got an email. My phone. You got money. Wow, 21 euro. Wow, that's very generous. Thank you. I appreciate that. So if you need more help, feel free. Right, save bot. Back to whatever I was doing. Oh, my headset cord is a little bit in the way. That's fine, I'll just push through it. I can just spin in my chair, try to untangle it, but never. It's that's very involved solution. Okay. So I need to validate the bot. How do I actually do this? Fail callback would return the same. I guess I just return a list of errors I find. How can I do this? Errors. It's just a list. I'll create a new list. I can type and pass it along. Actually, the validation could return the errors. So then I know if there were any errors found, then I need to call fail callback and pass along the errors, and if there were no errors, I just continue on. Right. Have it like that. Let's create this method to validate bot. So now the validation is not that complicated. I can just take a peek at my spaghetti code. Let's try and find validation here. Validate killbot config. So this is the validation I do. Let's see. Okay, let's copy this over to my new code. So definition is gone. Actually, the errors is the same. Okay. Let's see. It's list, new list. So the name, I don't need to validate name because I already do that. Alliances is also validated. Guilds is also validated. Players names also validated. Because I can't assign them the values. Well, the validation has been moved around. So I actually validate those values when I try to assign them, not when I try to save the whole configuration. Here I validate. Oh, so it needs to have. Okay. Can I find the type? Classes. Guess I will have to get rid of this type definition eventually. Right. Okay, if not. So if I'm not sure if it's assigned a non-value, if it will evaluate to true or false. Webhook kills and not webhook this, then it will be an error that, well, it should print out an error that at least one value, either a webhook or, let's see, actually prints out currently. Webhook for kills, not a valid webhook. Seem right? Death webhook. It's not an empty string and not get webhook error. Okay, so this is the validation. Okay, I don't really need that actually, because webhooks get validated when they get assigned as well. See, errors. Okay, it just checks if it was assigned, and if it's not a valid webhook, then it returns error. So that part is already done. So all I need to check if one of these, so if all of them are none. Oh, actually I need another. Yeah, I completely forgot about other buttons. So we need to save to test. So the issue I have is I want to have 6 custom buttons. Would look something like this. Actually, it won't look like this. It'll look more like this. Yeah, but the issue I'm having, I can only have 5 buttons in a row, and I only have one row dedicated to custom buttons. But if I want to have 6, that's an issue. I guess I will have to just define additional options. Oh, actually, maybe I could do it differently. Not running it. So when I select input, say alliances monitored, I should have a button to clear the value. Instead of having an option here in the whole menu, I would just have that option inside the setting menu. Yeah, that's how I will do that. Okay, so that solves. So there will be 3 less buttons here, and then I end up with only 3 custom buttons and only 8 menu options. That's good. Need to remember that. Right, errors. Okay, it's the list. How did I get from this to... Damn, I can't... I definitely have some sort of ADHD, I'm pretty sure. Errors equals... What I'm doing. I need to check if config alliances is none, and config guilds bot guilds none. It shouldn't be equal is none. Here is none. So if all of these are undefined, and bot players is also none. Right. So then I need to have, well, that gives him an error append and I append the classifiers as errors. Find another error. Okay, it's errors. Nothing to be monitored set. I guess that would really like the song. Try skipping back. Okay, this sounds more like background music without any vocals. Right, so the error in this case when I don't have alliances, nor guilds, nor players. So then there's nothing to be monitored, so I guess I can just have an error. Bot configuration. Nothing to monitor. String. I'm pretty sure doesn't really need to be here. Class of the type definition. Right. Nothing to monitor by bot. Say. Well, these are a little bit different, but I'm sure that's fine. And that's gonna be used in a couple of places, so I just put it in general errors. We have error, which states at least. Oh, actually, it's gonna be different for different bots, because only this bot requires at least one of the three. See. So this has to be specific. It's specific to killbot, not ting. Killbot, nothing to monitor. Have it named like this. It will be defined in a couple of menus. So, well, in two menus. It's in creation menu and editing menu. Will they point to the same menu though? See, I think I have new bot, killbot menu. Maybe I should rename this. Because it's not gonna be only new. Okay, let's have this error here. Nothing to monitor. Let's keep this name same, as we use it in the classifier. Right, killbot configuration, nothing to monitor. This will be the error. And another option need to check for is if any, okay, bot webhook for kills is none, and bot webhook for deaths is none. So both, basically, if both are undefined, actually spell. That is another error. Right, no webhook provided. Killbot, yeah, this is also specific to killbot. Configuration. Configure configuration. Okay, let's do this real quick. Configuration. Let's try to minimize the number of typos. At least pretend to make an attempt. at not making too many typos. No webhook. Hook provided. String. This can be, like, it doesn't matter that it matches multiple strings. So let's change this to something shorter. Nothing to monitor. Right. Okay, let's fix that. This. No webhook. That's also good. How I managed to get so distracted? That's definitely some ADHD crap. How did I not finish this? I have no idea. Okay, at least one guild. Start with from the start. First of all, we have alliances. At least one alliance or guild or player. Name has to be set. Right. So if you have no alliances to be monitored, no guilds to be monitored, and no players to be monitored, it will give you this error. Well, because that's how it is. In this one, should I word it the same way? Seem right. At least one of a webhook for kills or deaths is to be provided, is to be set. Yeah, so this is another error. Oh, pretty much the same thing. Not configuration. Here we configuration no webhook provided. That's a different error. Dub. Hey, welcome back, Risk. I actually got a 21 euro donation from the guy that I helped solve his assignment. Right. What can I do? Well, I don't want to just return errors. If do it like this, length of errors more than 0, then I will return errors. Else return none. Right. That's cool. Congratulations. Yeah, that was definitely cool of him. Didn't really, well, wasn't soliciting all that, but you know, I'll take money. He also should have told him to rate you on Fiverr. I guess. Well, you can rate me on Fiverr if you want, but I don't think it. Well, it shouldn't allow to rate a vendor if you didn't buy any services from him. And he didn't pay me over Fiverr. So I don't advertise as solving homework, programming homework for Python. I guess I could advertise that. But yeah, that could be a revenue stream for sure. Let's see. But in this case, like, I don't really want. And Bitcoin is doing well, so that's a huge market if you wanna go for it. Yeah, imagine, yeah, there are plenty of students that need help with programming assignments, especially for those who take it as a secondary class. Like their main focus is something else, and they don't really feel like they don't feel that joy of going through documentation, the joy of reading official documentation, trying things out, trying to use things, understand things. Yeah, if they don't find any interest in that, then yeah, I can imagine it is very tempting to just throw like a couple of bucks to someone to solve it for you and just be done with it. But I like him because he actually attempts to do it himself, like he does something, and like I kind of appreciate that. So I don't really feel bad for helping him out, even though in the end I just solve it for him and just provide the solution. But at least he's here, he's listening. Well, I don't have any way of verifying, but he does respond when I say something, so I imagine he is listening. I would like to think that he is listening, and hopefully he learns something useful. Because I'm more about educating, not just, you know, providing a service. I guess I could, for those who are just looking for a service like that. But you know, when people don't know what they're doing, like it will be hard to actually. So the problem with doing that would be, how do you deal with people who get a failing grade after you provide an exercise? Like you provide the solution for the exercise and they get a failing grade. And they might get the failing grade just because it was obvious that they are not the authors of that solution. So what do you do in that case? You refund them, even though the solution is correct, but they failed to failed to convince their teacher that they did it by themselves? Because that's definitely a thing. Well, it used to be at least a thing. If you obviously cheated, then yeah, you get a failing grade. Like if he comes and asks why this works, how this works, please explain, and you can't, then you know, I'm kind of liable for that. So that's what I don't really want to deal with that part. And this in here, Morphro was actually here. I explained why everything is the way it is and so on. So it was like a mini lecture. Hopefully he took something out of it. Just have a 10-minute session explaining how the code works. Yeah, I could. Well, that requires the people. Well, you see, one person is just buying a solution. Like he might not understand that he needs to understand the solution as well. Free with code. You could, but not everyone will take it. Everyone will get the solution. Okay, thanks. Here's some money, and that's it. And I don't really care how it works. And when they go to get graded and they fail to prove or fail to convince the teacher that it's their solution, then the issues start. And students are not really, what would you say, strong planners. Usually, the type of student who would buy a solution to to his homework, I don't really believe that they have the foresight to actually learn it in advance. I definitely see them complaining if they do fail. Like the argument will be made, oh, you made it too obvious that it's not written by a student. According to what I have seen, students don't actually get asked about how everything works unless it's very small university. Yeah, usually you don't get, but imagine if you're a student who is failing, let's say, who has a history of failing his assignments or just not doing them at all, like being a poor student, and suddenly he brings a homework solution that's perfect. That's like 10 out of 10. So I'm talking about those cases. In those cases, I imagine the teacher who's grading, like, well, I guess maybe in huge universities when you can't even keep track of your students and you don't see like, but even then, when you're filling out the grades in some spreadsheet, you see his prior history. You see like he got a failing grade, and suddenly he gets a 10. 10 out of 10 or A or whatever the grading system is. Like that will definitely, well, it should at least trigger some red flags. If it's not none, that will fail callback. They actually need to provide to the fail callback. User has to be here as well. You get the user auth ID. Oh, so these are, yeah, only the user is the guaranteed value. What here? You know, hard to say. What's the right? Yeah, I can't really figure out how to do that. I guess I could make it just a disclaimer, flat out saying that if you fail to defend this or you fail to prove that it's your own work, it's on you. It's not on me. The work's provided as is, no guarantees and anything. Since you're in Europe, can you live in Germany without a visa or something? Well, you can. Like, I don't really see why you wouldn't. Like here in Lithuania, like everywhere, like paper money is legal tender, and by being legal tender, it means like everyone who accepts payments have to be able to accept anything that's legal tender, and like the paper money is one form of legal tender, so you should be able to make transactions without having a bank card. It might be difficult, but because in some cases for some services you need to provide your bank account number, for example, for getting money back. So if you have a social security program that you want to participate in, they will ask you where do you want to receive your money, and they will ask for a bank account. So if you don't have that, then you might be unable to use those services. Otherwise, getting a salary paid, but you know, if you live in Europe, like getting a bank account is not an issue. Without a visa, something. That's good. Yeah, I've heard that India is really pushing hard into digitizing all of their well, not money, but all the monetary transactions, if I understand it correctly. So everything is being digitized or something. It's well, I only hear bits and pieces about it. I'm not really sure what it actually is and how it looks. Maybe you could provide me with some more detail. Yeah, and how does it look like? What does it mean for like your everyday life? You can't use paper money anymore, or what? Or it's no longer accepted some places? Or there are certain things you can only do with well, you can't do with paper money anymore? I'd say although, like, might be also like PayPal, just an Indian app. Yeah, I imagine, like, I understand how it functions, how it looks like, but how do they actually force it? How they are moving towards it? Because I imagine, like, here each bank pretty much has its own app where you can facilitate transactions using it on your phone. So if you want to send some money, you can just open it in your phone app and just press some buttons and do the transaction that way. But you just turned off randomly. I'm not sure what's that about. Hopefully that's not clear. So people don't transfer money from bank to bank, but use the new app, and shopkeepers have to use it for their transactions. So when you say they have to use it, does it mean they're not allowed to accept cash? And Google is contributing to this, so we have an app called Google Pay. Everyone uses it. Yeah, Google Pay. Yeah, that's one of the solutions. And definitely, I wouldn't say that Google is contributing to it. Like, Google is just a provider, I guess, your government went with as a default one. But yeah, Google ecosystem is... I'm not sure how it interacts with... I'm not sure what would be an alternative. Apple Pay? I think that's a thing as well. Let's see, so this will result in then... type of menu will I get? It's just a normal menu. Normal cash is also available, and I think 50% of people still use cash. Okay. Oh yeah, so it's somewhat similar to here. Like, sometimes I use cash in my when I'm out shopping. Sometimes I use my debit card. Usually, well, at least here in Lithuania, it's more popular to have a debit card than a credit card. But it doesn't charge any fee. It's free to transact. You mean? Yeah, I think that's kind of normal, and unlimited times. Yeah, well, I don't see. Well, there are some limitations from what I know when you're doing bank transactions. Like, there is a limit how much money you can transfer, like in a given period of time. So there's a limit how much you can spend in a day, in a week, in a month, and when you reach that limit, your transactions fail to process, so you can't pay anymore. So this is, I'm not sure if it's a feature, if it's a benefit or a downside. I guess it is. It can be both for different kind of people. Yeah, you can decide the limit and just that. Yeah. Yeah, cash doesn't have the downside, but if you're carrying around like thousands of euros, yeah, that's probably not the best approach either. It has its downsides as well. Imagine losing like your... I wouldn't know. I guess you can fit a couple of thousand into a wallet. Not my wallet, because it's so small. But yeah, I definitely can get a wallet that's really thick. But yeah, losing a wallet in that case is kind of painful. Let's see. We use debit cards too. People here think credit card is a very bad thing and you can fall into trap. Yeah, that's definitely true. Like, you need to be fiscally responsible. That's actually a good question, how to foster, how to teach your kids to be fiscally responsible. Still, there are people who use credit cards. Yeah, I guess there always will be, but I think it's just the failing of the education. Like well, imagine you never were taught how to handle money, and suddenly you're given an option to get anything you want without having to earn the money. Like you just buy anything you want in credit. And credit is something you haven't dealt with before. You just know, okay, you will need to pay it back in the future. And how you never experience that, so you don't understand how painful it is when you have to earn the money. And instead of being able to use that money, you have to give it away. And if you're not used to calculating that it's how how much more expensive it is to buy it on credit, and then including all of your fees and what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, I don't remember. So basically interest, right? So you accrue additional interest on your loan. The same is with credit cards. That's usually the case. India parents do not generally teach about money interest. Yeah, that's, well, it's not something it's not that straightforward as just telling your kid that, oh, if you buy in credit you will have to pay extra. And yeah, like how do you actually teach a kid that type of skill? I guess playing some games. Yeah, I guess games is just the only solution I can think of. Like you play a Monopoly or something like that involves money, and during the game you loan money with interest, and say, okay, you have a good square, you can buy this property for let's say a couple of hundred, but you don't have the cash. Okay, so let's agree that I will lend you the money you need, but in 4 rotations, in 4 turns, you will have to return me like twice as much. That's what Think and Grow Rich is about this. Yeah, I think that's the reasonable or practical way of teaching kids about how to handle money. Another option would be just to give them money and let them experience the losing money aspect. Monopoly. You don't know what Monopoly is? Haven't you? Yeah, it doesn't seem right if you don't know what Monopoly is. Monopoly is a board game, like very popular. It's like a game where you play with however member, like it's just a board game we play with your family or friends. Yeah, hopefully you know what it is. Would be a little bit alarming if you didn't. Maybe not alarming, but odd. I'm saying it can be used. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, the delay is messing me over. Okay, so the delay is so big. I kind of failed to follow. Yeah, so yeah, I think Monopoly is but you need to play it in a specific way. You need to be mindful that you want to teach them certain mechanics about money. Yeah. Buffering, yeah, sucks. Well, too bad Twitch is such a underwhelming platform. Right, errors, validate bot, blah blah blah, fail callback, gives me a menu. I'm pretty sure it gives me a menu. New killbot will give this menu, which needs a user and a killbot, and that's it, I think. So I pass along a user and a bot. Right. This should be named validate killbot, save killbot. Change that. Shift R. killbot. This is to validate killbot. Killbot. Fail callback. Hopefully this... Well, I guess each menu is the same type of menu, like all of the inherit from menu, so this shouldn't be an issue. Command errors, no context, errors. Why is it not working? User context, menu context, errors. It's the list of errors. Oh, this is why maybe it's confusing. Name this errors found. Then the names will be somewhat different. So errors found is not none. Then return menu we came from with the errors to be displayed. Actually, this should work already, this part. Validation. Yeah, now it's about time I run this code and figure out how many things are wrong with it. Launching new. I'm not launching new. I'm launching old. Operation. Okay, it initialized. That's a good sign. It didn't crash. Oh, now it crashed. Okay, forgot about that. Okay. It's done. Database is set up. Well, the tunnel to the database is set up. Right. We can actually test it. So, I didn't actually play Monopoly myself with my parents. I guess I'm kinda bad with money. Not really good with it. Create new bot. Killbot. And I have a save option. Should give me errors. No type has object show. Okay. Current menu. Me too. Okay. That makes two of us. So, I guess all we have to do is just, well, try to be responsible. We need to be mindful, since we don't have that skill built into us from the from childhood. And we just need to be aware, not to spend money unnecessarily. Let's see. Right. So the problem is probably here. It returns the errors, and if errors is not none. But when I buy things, I generally buy things and take 6-7 days deciding what's the best bang for the buck and then buy it. Well, it's then your... Well, I guess that's responsible enough. So you wouldn't be wasting money unless you decide that you need, well, unless you decide you need to buy something useless and then go go into detail. How can I buy something useless but get the most useless for my money? Like I went, while buying laptop, I did a whole research on how laptops work, what is a processor, and how it's named, etc., etc. Okay. Well, that's good. That's definitely a good idea. I guess in your case, how did you end up with 13-inch MacBook? I'm baffled. I feel like your research was somewhat flawed, because you can buy a much more powerful normal laptop for the same money. But I guess it doesn't have the same status. Like if you pull out a MacBook, then yeah, I guess people can. Well, for some people it's important. For me, it isn't. So I just, when I do research, I just go. It all went down to battery. Oh, yeah, I guess this. But the batteries are quite good in other laptops as well. Like, yeah, it has maybe an hour or two extra, I imagine. I actually haven't done any research in modern laptops, so I have no idea, but I imagine they are not too far behind. It's not like a difference of like a good laptop for similar price would have like 3-4 hours, and the MacBook has 12 hours of battery life. And it had the Apple sticker with the cover, so I don't want. Oh, and I hid the Apple sticker. Okay, with the cover, so that status symbol. Yeah, it's definitely not something I would find appealing as well. I just usually go for bang for the buck. So you bought it just because of the battery, okay. So what was the second, like, what was the other laptop you were considering? How much battery life did they had? Is that was there a drastic difference, or it was like a little bit better, like 10-20% better? Because when it lasts for 12 hours, then you know. Is there a big difference between 10 and 12 hours? Like if you're sitting at your laptop without being able to charge for 10 hours? Like that's... Yeah. It's not... It doesn't happen all that often, I imagine. Like if you never close it, always keep it open throughout like your school day, maybe. You could use up all 10 hours. Well, you have 3-hour commute, so on top of that. In general, high-performance Windows laptop lasts 3-4 hours on Mac. What do you mean on Mac? Oh, on Macs, okay. Yeah, 3-4 hours, okay. Then if your decision is between a 3-4 hour laptop and 10-12 hour laptop, yeah, I guess I can agree with that. Definitely is a benefit. Different story for ultrabooks, because they are not built for performance. Well, MacBook is not built for performance either, so you can't really say that this MacBook is an ultrabook. Like it is from the same category, and it's priced accordingly. I wouldn't call MacBook a high performance laptop. Like they would call it like Apple would call it a high performance laptop, but it definitely isn't. It doesn't, yeah, it can't really compete with high performance laptops, Windows laptops. At least that's my understanding. I guess they're just similar priced. Nah, it's not considered an ultrabook. Maybe Intel variants were, but with the M1 it's not. Yeah, but M1 is focused on saving battery life, so it just has, well, price to what performance is really good. But like ultrabooks do the same thing. I'm sure, well, Apple doesn't consider these their MacBooks to be ultrabooks. Okay, well, maybe I'm just, my knowledge is just dated. I just always saw MacBooks as ultrabooks, like as like direct competitors, like on the laptop space. Ultrabooks are direct competitors to MacBooks, and high performance laptops they have a different use case. Because well, it depends. I don't really know much about M1. I just know that it's really good. But really good means I'm not sure. Well, it's really good at saving battery life. But there are modern laptops. I'm not really sure what kind of processor would be equivalent on the Windows laptop. Yeah, I guess this would require me to do some more research. Maybe I'm just wrong. Well, you're the one who did the research, so I'll assume you know better. 3-4 hours, yeah, it's definitely a little bit short. I would have probably went with an Ultrabook of similar price. Just because Windows is... maybe you don't really care about Windows. Yeah, I'm more used to Windows. I never used Apple computer in general. Okay, let's see, Lenovo. Yeah, Lenovo is usually what you work with. It's if you were looking for a workstation laptop, probably would go with a Lenovo. MD5, Ryzen 5. Legion 5 there. This looks like a high performance laptop. It has like a RGB keyboard and so on, so it's like a gaming laptop. What kind of GPU it has? 16 gigs of RAM, processor, display, graphics, GeForce 3050, 4 gigs. So it's not too bad of a graphics card as well. So 95 watts TDP. Yeah, 95 watts is not too shabby. It is definitely a performance / gaming laptop. It's a borderline gaming. Yeah, it definitely looks like a brick. Bunch of I/O. Even has gaming tests for FPS, GTA 5, yeah, so it's definitely powerful, and I imagine, well, battery life suffers naturally. Where does it say battery life? Don't really see anything mentioned about battery life. Okay, Linux appeals, that's it. This was the rival. It's a 95 watt, but the GPU is so hungry that it uses it idle 3 hours. Oh, so 95 watt battery. So I guess if it's... yeah, but this is a gaming laptop. Like, this is not a competitor. Like, you can't compare this to MacBook. Like, these are completely different. Like, these are from completely different categories. At least in my opinion. Does well, I guess MacBooks do they even have a graphics card? Isn't that integrated? MacBook. Yeah, I think yours Pro 13. A DLT. Another factor. Core CPU, 8-core GPU. Let's see, what does it say? For the spec. Where to buy? doesn't say anything. Let's search in Amazon in that case. I was thinking about doing iOS development, but it's not possible in Windows. Yeah, well, you need to do emulation. So you would need to have a virtual environment where you spin up your macOS or even your whole development environment. Apple.com is the site. Okay, I can do apple.com. But this will be like a fancy Mac. MacBook Pro 13-inch. Hours of battle, okay. What I would say. Oh, so it is an integrated GPU, so it's part of the CPU. Okay, so it doesn't have a dedicated graphics card. So how you can compare a laptop without a dedicated graphics card to a laptop with like NVIDIA proper GPU? Doesn't seem. That's not fair. Even with emulation, it's not possible. Well, what do you mean it's not possible? If you can spin up an instance of iOS, you can do everything you want in that environment, I imagine. Like, why is that not possible? Doesn't really seem right. Definitely should be possible. I don't really see why it wouldn't. Well, it wouldn't be as performant for sure, because you have additional layer of having an OS running inside of another OS. Like you have your Mac OS running inside your host OS, which is Windows. So you would need to be running both. See what that is. All the details on Apple's M1 chip. That looks like an advertisement. Doesn't look like a third-party independent review. M1 is up to 70% faster than its predecessor. Like, I don't know, like, let's throw a bunch of huge numbers, fancy graphics. Core PC laptop chip, like a generic one, like fancy graphics, that's cool. So what does it mean, 30 watts? So if you limit yourself to 30 watts, and look for a laptop CPUs that have this power, well, TDP, thermal dissipation threshold. I think that's what it stands for. Power consumption. So that's not even that, it's power consumption. And then you have an 8-core laptop and 1 Pro. This is just an ad. CNET highlights. Sure, I trust CNET to do an independent research properly. Just kill the whole PC market, okay. Like this guy works at Apple. Allegedly. Yeah, so this is a very good point. My 6-year-old Mac actually runs just fine today with what I do. It all depends on your workload. So if you use your laptop, if you don't really need performance out of your laptop, then MacBooks are really good. Like if you don't do anything that's resource intensive. So meaning you don't really need a lot of CPU power, you don't need a lot of memory, you don't need to do a lot of IOs. Then it works fine. It's really good, as you said. Like it results in a beastly battery life. But otherwise, when you start pushing for something, let's see. Well, programming is actually not one of those resource intensive tasks. So for developers, I feel like MacBooks are fine. So I'm not saying it's gonna be bad in any case. Like I think you will be happy with its performance and won't have any issues. So you didn't really make a wrong choice by any means. Like this as well. Find the Windows a little bit better. So yeah, in any case you will be fine. Plus I can always buy a cheap Windows laptop and install Linux in it whenever I need something which doesn't work in Mac. Well, I'm pretty sure there's always a way, there should be a way to get it working on Mac. If not the exact thing, there should be at least an alternative you can make work. Well, I guess it depends. But yeah, if you're gonna be working on development, like quite a lot of developers use Macs, so all of the tools usually have a support for Mac OS. So you shouldn't struggle there. So it's definitely a solid choice. It's just a little bit more expensive than alternatives. I think that's it. Well, modern ultrabooks are quite expensive as well, so I guess you wouldn't even be saving money there. Okay. That's right. But I was doing something here. So I got an error. So in new bot pie.
If you simply close your eyes and allow yourself to hear
Button.
all the sounds that are going on around you.
Oh, so this gets the result. Fails to call.
Buzz of the world.
Okay.
As if you were listening to music.
Data. Doesn't seem right. It's the gaming I will be missing on. Even if I would have bought a Windows laptop, I would have installed Linux and delete Windows. Yeah, gaming on Mac seems to be yeah, not really a thing. That would be one of the benefits of having a Windows even on Ultrabook. Let's see what kind of Ultrabooks there are. What would be your choice? Lenovo Ultrabook. Let's say i5. Or 60. I'd say that would be like more like a competitor to MacBook. Display. Specs, memory, graphics card. So yeah, it uses it uses NVIDIA. Oh, it's Intel integrated NVIDIA chip, so it is an integrated graphics. Yeah, it's not all that light. Well, I guess MacBooks are not that light either. They're just thin. Ooh, the thick boy is looking from the side. But this is what would be features, text specs. So it forwards me here. I wonder what's the battery life. See anything? Battery up to 14 hours. What does this mean? 23 plus 72. Does it come with a dongle? Yeah, integrated graphics. Well, these days it's okay. number of I/O is nice on Windows laptops. It's not like with a Mac where you need to have a squid attached to your MacBook to actually have decent input-output options or decent ports. And where can I get discontinued? Amazing. Looking at the old product. Actually, could I find something newer? Laptops. Traditional laptops, gaming, Chromebook. 5th gen, 11-inch. X13 business ultra thin, ultra light. Yeah, but these are quite expensive. 7th gen Intel. I wonder if something like this has a GPU. Here are at tech specs. Display, graphics. Oh, so you can have a dedicated graphics card. Optional. Integrated UHD graphics. So you can either have, well, you have a choice, at least. Yeah, it was decent. Like, what is this? Only one USB? Oh, it has a USB on both sides, no? It's a USB, right? Kensington lock. Very much I/O. And what about battery life? High power. Memory battery up to 10 hours. A very nice and small text for disclaimer. We have 3 choices of a display. What does it mean up to Windows 10? Isn't Windows 11 is the latest one? I guess it ships with it. And battery. It's 10 hours but only lasts 5 hours. Depends. Well, it depends on the usage, I imagine. I imagine you can tank your MacBook's battery as well if you do resource intensive tasks. Or maybe just... So, there are 2 ways to do that. Either the performance degrades so much that it... Well, so it would conserve enough power to last long enough. Or... Yeah, it uses a lot more battery than it should. Oh, it can even do stuff like that. That doesn't seem useful. Make it into basically a flexible, what's the name of it? I want to say iPad, but it's not an iPad. iPad is, what's the name of that form factor? iPad isn't. Tablets, right? Into basically a tablet with a keyboard attached to it. Yeah, well, that's probably what I would have went for, but you know, I'm kind of against Apple in general. I would rather have a downside of having not as a stable platform as macOS. Convertible, yeah. I need to figure out why this the show is working. Killbot returns errors. Not none. Fail callback. I pass the wrong value here. Killbot menu. Killbot, which returns menu instance. Yeah, how does this end up being none? Did I do something wrong? Oh, run it. Change here. Okay. Killbot and save. Yeah, this ends. Maybe this doesn't get called. Okay, let's have run it in debug. Some breakpoints going. Right. One. Save. Does he hit? Oh. So it doesn't... It's none, but it doesn't go into this. That work? Doesn't make sense. Oh, it's not... Okay, I'm dumb. Right. Okay, that should fix it. Managed to miss so many obvious things I miss. Why don't I see any errors displayed? Seem right. Wait, do I have it? It's a list. Okay, let's take a look at how do I actually... Errors? It doesn't need anything else. So if it's a success, it gets a success message. If it's not, it just uses classifier error. Something is not right. Errors, return errors if errors length more than 0. Wait, no. Oh, so this doesn't work, okay. Okay, I'm dumb. So this has to be not none. This for some reason doesn't return any errors. Right. The bot is passed along. Okay, let's get into this. So I'll stop it. Bug. Bot. Killbot. Save. Okay, it goes into validation. Oh, it's a string. Wait, do I actually... Oh... Okay, that explains it. So everything is initialized. Right. So actually I'm changing this. Okay, that explains it. So instead of comparing it to none, I should compare it to an empty string. And comparing is not done like this. Right. And this compares the webhook for kills or deaths. Right. Now this should work. Yep. Okay, we don't spray point. Run. And save. At least one alliance or guild or player name has to be set. Oh, this is not right. Should be a new line. There are multiple errors. Okay, so I need to fix my little framework I cobbled together. They're bots. Oh, this is not main. Menu. Here. Menu items. Getting pings. Message me and okay, the bills to pay. To know. Right. Get buttons, show description, I think. The errors are part of the description. Actually not. Part of options title, okay. For each error. So for each error, in context errors, I get translation, and then I fill out the fields if necessary. Right. So how do I actually add a new line in case there are multiple entries? Because I don't want it to be on the first entry. Maybe I do. I just remove one of these. So I have it. Wait. Right. Right, so /n. Yeah, I just move this. Format. Let's have it like this. So this is an expression I use. And at the end I add \n. Actually, it's not there. I should be using it here. Okay. My bad. Here and this is here. I can actually let's leave it as is. Don't really like how the strings are created here, but whatever. Doesn't really matter. Right. Plus equal. Yeah, that's a nice operator. I see people complaining about plus equal, like being the weirdest operator in Python or something. I don't see why. Like, okay, let's run it again. Is it new bot? Run it. Good. Bot. Bot. Save. Trace errors correctly. Okay, so each error is in its line. Right. At least one alliance or guild or player name has to be set. Whether for kills or deaths has to be set. So yeah, so this is missing parameter. So validation is done. So now the actual saving to the database. Song so mellow. A little bit better. Right, where's my helper? So the helper will be doing the heavy lifting of actually connecting to the database and saving the result. And since new killbot, see what values I don't provide ID. Server's bot. ID, expiration, payment ID are not provided. Right. I guess just for initial implementation I can have helper just save whatever it gets. Or I could define different methods, save new one and save. Well, the difference is very small. Right. Let's take the initial implementation. Let's base it on existing one from the spaghetti code. Which is here. Save new configuration. Right, so this is the spaghetti code, spaghetti version, tasty version. This. Save the method definition. Config, yeah, I guess I need the user as well. Save new killbot. I could just use save killbot, and based on the ID value, either I insert it, well, if ID is provided then it's an update, and if it's if it doesn't have an ID, it has to be inserted as a new record. Actually, there's quite a bit of difference between them. Okay, let's have a dedicated new. So I get the connection. It's the same. Yeah, connection with the cursor as cursor. Validate. Oh, valid till trial days. Trial days is something I store in my singleton. Trial days, so yeah, I get a singleton instance. Sing dot trial days. Should be able to map to it. Yeah, it finds it. So that's good. And singleton is actually created somewhere, I imagine. Let's see the reference. Okay, here it is. It is initialized. It's all good. Trial period ends. Okay. Let's leave that log entry just in case I need it. Right, so one SQL statement is to insert a new record. I don't really want to mess with that. So I do SQL, second SQL statement. So I select out from configurations. Right, it doesn't have anything else. Select ID. Progression ID is none, if not none. If it's none, then assign 1. Right, and if it does, it adds 1. Okay, this is... Oh, so based on the configuration, well, on latest, on its ID, I generate on payment ID. Oh, that's such a awkward way of doing things. Not really sure why he did it like that. I don't really want to change it. So get payment ID. So let's have it defined here as well. Generate payment ID. Does some weird things. So it gets the year from date time now. So current year plus payment ID. So it multiplies by 7 the user ID and attaches year at front. Okay, whatever, that's that's a very odd way of doing things. Not really sure what's the point in it. I think, oh, yeah, it's hard to say what I was thinking 2 years ago. It doesn't seem to make too much sense. Right, user config, where do I get? I need a bot instead of config, so it will be bot. Where do I reference user? Don't really seem to be using it anywhere except here. Last row ID. Let's rename both of these so I will see errors. Oh, it will underline where it's missing a reference. So this is the type. I imagine the type is just an integer value. And here I have a type. Oh, bot types. A classifier. Oh. Yeah, this is not what I expected. Because if I look at the database, so yeah, the types are actually a classifier, and if I look at the configurations, select type from configurations. Yeah, the type is a number, so it corresponds to the ID in types table. So, theory, what I should do another select from the configurations table to make sure. Well, it would be a very generic way of doing it, but it would introduce another call to the database. So I think I would rather just have it defined like this. 1 or 2. Okay, let's not rename it like this. I think I want it to be an enum. I will have this one. It's not a valid name. So I have to have this as 1. I actually use this. Menus. Oh, I just use it here to assign a value. Okay. I can easily just have 1 here. So type is it doesn't even have to be an enum. Sure. Let's have it as 2, 1 and 2. And it's still clear what it stands for. But when I do an insert into a database, I just use it as is, and it should be fine. So now the question is it actually a string or an integer in the database? Relation columns. Type is an integer, okay. So we don't even do any conversion, we just use bot type to make it a little bit easier. Classes bot. So this is the type. I can actually see the properties that are available to me. Bot name, bot language, bot alliances, guilds, so webhook 1. Where's the other webhook? Killbot has 2 webhooks. Webhook 1. Yeah, this isn't right. Type name language alliance guild webhook. Payment ID participant show names. This is not killbot. This is battlebot configuration. Alliance guild doesn't have players. Yeah, this is the wrong method. New battlebot configuration. Okay, that's where I went wrong. Where's my new killbot? Let's look at the outline. Should be in this view. Yep. All right. Save new killbot. So this is what I should be using. Okay. Slat killbot. For some reason I returned payment ID. Sure what that's about. Guess I can use it to display it, but otherwise Actually, probably more useful thing would be to return the bot instance itself. Actually, I don't even need to return it. Yeah, let's just don't have any return type. Don't return anything. Be as good. Trial days, so this comes from sing. Right. Scroll should be correct this time. Get the conduct config ID. Config ID. So this is the value I get. Generate payment ID. Like, this is so convoluted and unnecessarily convoluted, but okay, get valid till expiration date. Now I do bot type. Another message, another email. Okay. Bot name, bot language, alliances, bot guilds, players. Oh, Risky is still here? I forgot. I wanted to talk about something about you. This webhook for kills. Bot webhook kills. Bot webhook deaths. Payment ID goes next. So bot. What's it? In value. Like that's it. A payment ID. Don't actually want to assign it thing. Only set bot payment ID equal to this, which returns looks like a string constructed in a very odd way. Prefix payment ID. This prefix actually defined. Oh yeah, actually pass it along as a parameter. The prefix is this. Okay. Failed to insert in with values. So I can do this. What? Have it added beforehand. Hopefully that makes sense. Inserted with ID. And what does this do? Scroll 3. Insert into user configuration. Oh, so it uses okay, it creates a new mapping. And user ID, I imagine, is the ID database. Let's quickly verify that that's the case. User ID and configuration ID, okay. That is user of type classes. User key. Right. This should be fine. So this should create a new record, save it, and all the good things. Right, so I call this in my bot, validate save killbot. So if it's not none, well, in all other cases, all helper, save new killbot, pass along user, and the bot. And I get the menu by calling success callback. Success callback in this case, I don't think it needs any parameters, so I just pass along the user. But this time, if I return it, I set its context, errors. Such a hackish way to do this. So messages, I want to add a message. Success. Bot created. String. Bot created. Successfully. Actually, it shouldn't be like that. New bot, killbot saved. Okay, so we have this. Actually, this isn't generic. Like all of bots will pretty much result in the same message. So have new bot saved. Go to translations. All the just errors. Do I have any other place I can define this? Happening? Oh, I think someone posted a message. My Discord. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Not sure what that was about. Received a random event. I can stop running it. No need for that. Access. Stand bot. Access claiming. Bot saved. Say just this won't be just in the start menu. Well, I guess this will be in the start menu actually. When I create a new bot, it will redirect me to the start menu. You can have bot saved. Oh. Yeah. New bot saved. Get something to drink. Right. What was I planning to do? New bot saved. And pops out. Why Exit bot. So I save a new killbot. So I want to have a new notification. The start menu. What do I want to show though? A name? Should probably see that killbot specifically. And then probably some space for a name. Killbot saved. You can see what's an option. Language list bots. Name and list is list configured bots. You can see it. So list bots. Saved. So let's do this. Classifiers. Just says bot created. I should rename this as well to specific killbot created. Good. Then I need to also error fields, I believe. The way to find it. Error fields. Right. Error fields. Dictionary. Key being the error name. And the value is whatever I want to insert, which is, I guess the name is the, should I use payment ID? No, I think the name is fine. This is bot name. Right, then I return the menu at the end. Unless something happens, that case, turn 0. Sure, what would happen in that case? Well, I don't really check any values. I don't rely on anything. Changes in the bot. Okay, let's see how this looks like when I run it. Sure, I stopped. I'm pretty sure I did, but just to be sure. Just a bot, killbot. It shows errors and okay, let's say set an alliance sample, then set a webhook. Last time I used the webhook, actually I can find it in the source code. It will be faster. Where did I use it? But no. the main. Language menu. Killbot, right. This is it. To learn about the webhooks. We fix that. Menu was that. Oh, this is a generic webhook error. Okay. Let's see, errors. Valid number, invalid, mail, webhook invalid. To learn about webhooks, read this. So the webhook provided was not a valid webhook, and then not good. Right. Let's use this. Okay, now it worked. So now I should be able to save it, and it crashes. Type object datetime has no attribute datetime. And we're actually look for it, helper. So when I try to save it, time, trial days. Okay. So this is datetime has no attribute datetime. Seem right. Oh, from datetime import datetime. Let's do this. Actually, in that case, I don't need datetime. It's enough to use datetime. Time delta. Do the same here. Because I'm pretty sure in the old code, only import datetime. Yeah, import datetime. That's the difference. Yeah. Now run. Killbot. Let's do the webhook first. Then guild alliance. Oh, actually don't need a valid alliance. Like that. Save. Get the same error. Object datetime has no attribute time delta. Oh, time delta. sometimes they actually reference time, date, time. Actually need this. I just do... Okay, let's remove this and see how many times I reference it here. Date, time. So have it like this. So date, time. Because apparently this time delta comes from another package, well, before daytime. So from daytime root package and daytime dtime, here's all the other functions I'm using. Daytime is always a pain in the ass. Well, it tends to be. Writing code. For some reason, well, the implementation changes quite a lot. Bot, killbot, webhook. The webhook from here. And the client's name, something like this. Now we save. Hey, and it actually saved. New killbot K saved. You can see it if you list configured bots. I do that. Configured bots, and it actually shows me ID 0. So payment ID didn't get generated. Expires on this date. So let's delete it for now. 5. Right, so payment ID didn't actually get generated. That's interesting. Change anything? Don't believe. So when I save new killbot, payment ID. Oh, will be bot payment ID. This. They actually assign it to bot payment ID before that, instead of assigning it to a variable like this. Yeah, so this is no longer used, no longer necessary. Right. So this should fix that. Anything else I need to check? That's it. Run. Again. Check if it works. Such a... Oh. I don't want to see bad way of developing, but it's not the best way. Let's put it that way. Bot, killbot, webhook, have it, and alliances, save. K, it doesn't really, I don't really like how it says K only. What's happening with that? What name? Oh, it has to be a list of values, okay. So it explodes the name into individual letters. That's the mistake. Yeah, this is... It's can list now, and the actual payment ID gets generated with year 2022. All looks good. If I, oh, I guess I can't really select it now. It crashes. We can actually quickly do that. Can we? Actually, rather not. Make sure that saving a new instance works. Because if I open it in edit menu, it will, well, it should behave differently. Like this. Neutron. It's good. What new killbot? Random. So webhook for kills will be this. Now I save it. New killbot. Should I enter quotes? I feel like it needs quotes. Yeah, it feels like it should be something different. So messages. Oh, it's in the start menu, right? Killbot named, and this will work. Hopefully it will. It might not though. Not sure how it will handle the quotes in the string. Might break it. Should it be that? Yeah, it wouldn't be great. Run this. Bot. Killbot. Webhook to this. Appliances to that. Save. Yeah, new killbot named killbot. Saved. You can see it if you list configuration bots. So we can do this list configuration bots. Python payment type name. All of these are the new ones. So 5, 6, and 7. So if I delete and then I enter 5, 6, and 7, select option doesn't exist. Oh, select so I can. Oh, I need to delete them one by one. Okay. 7, confirm, delete, 6, confirm, 5, confirm. Yeah, so the new bots got deleted, that's all good. So creation of killbot works. So next I need an option to test it. So I need a button to test. Also I need to change implementation of all of these 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to have a way of resetting its value back to an empty string. Right. So yeah, when I have let's see, alliances, it should have two buttons, cancel and set. I'm not even sure what the button should say. Reset maybe? And it will just set the value back to an empty string. Yeah, I think reset works fine. The name clear, I think that's the option that's the wording I use in the old bot. So enters, and then you have a bunch of options to clear each value. So if you were monitoring some players and suddenly you decide you don't really want these players at all, that's how you would do that, with clear players. So now the new bot, the new implementation, Yeah, when you select an option, I'm not sure what's a better option, to have a value saying reset or saying a value, a button saying to clear. Both are kind of, well, not exactly descriptive. I could have a longer name. Reset to none, set to, or don't monitor, but that don't monitor is, doesn't really fit other menus. So for webhooks, yeah, not really sure. Guess I can leave it for the next day, I can think about it, maybe. A very simple thing. Guess I can even implement it in a generic way. Somewhat, at least. Let's see, bot. Yeah, webhook player guild, and so all of these use update string attribute. Player guild alliance name, except name. Name doesn't have to be reset. I guess I'll have a use for this method now. Because what I will do, actually define another custom button. Candle name. Guess I can do call this. And just pass along the text needed. Actually, I don't think it will work. Because the buttons pass along ID as text. See, so custom button, cancel. So a callback, a button style. Oh, actually, it only passes along a button to the callback method. The callback method looks like bot menu, killbot menu. Like this, it needs a user and a killbot, or well, a user and a parameter. Okay, let's have a cancel button. Create user input. Maybe I could add a flag option. Optional boolean value. Well, I guess I kinda need to go and eat something. It's lunchtime already. Guess I can figure this out next time. So I have two things left to do. So saving works. Now I need to figure out a test. To send a test message to the webhooks provided to verify that it's all good. Also, I could do the same check to verify that everything is correct. Let's see, do I have any bots created now? I don't. It's all good. New bot. It's the wrong spot. Actually, maybe I could give a button. Let's have a button, donation button or something like this. If people, well, yeah, to solicit donations. Even though the bots are paid, so Yeah, it's probably not really a good idea. Right. Maybe I could have a button that links to my Twitch. That could be an option. Not sure people would appreciate that though. Languages. Yeah, probably should add more languages as well, but that will come with time. No real rush. What else do I need to do? Well, I need to commit the code eventually, but I don't want to do it until this menu is completely done. Yeah, two things, testing and clearing options. Right. Okay, I'm done for today. We'll be back tomorrow, or this evening even, not sure.